know. I am very broken. Me and my family is broken. Please, y'all, please. Give us some time to respond, to talk to y'all, to anything. Please, y'all. My baby sister is cold. Please. The person.
You remember Romeca Meeks, right? The woman who was shot in the face at a school drop-off in Chicago? The mother who packed a lunch with a note that said, "You're the coolest, smartest, funniest kid I know. I love you so much." Well, I need to tell you what happened after that story ended. And honestly, what I'm about to share is going to make you question everything you thought you knew about justice. Before we dive in, if you're new here, welcome to Mystora Crimes. We don't just tell stories. We uncover the truth that hides behind the headlines. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon, because trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. This story isn't over, not by a long shot. So here's where we left off. September 8, 2025. Romeca drops her son off at school. She's walking back to her car. A confrontation happens. Words turn into shoving. And then a single gunshot. She falls. The woman who fired that shot? Holly Johnson. And here's the part that's going to blow your mind. Holly was arrested, taken into custody, and then released. No charges filed. Nothing. She walked out of that police station and went home like nothing happened. Let me say that again because I need you to really hear this. A woman was shot in the face in broad daylight, in front of a school, with witnesses everywhere. And the person who pulled the trigger is free right now, walking the streets, living her life. While Romeca's 6-year-old son, who just turned 7, had to celebrate his birthday without his mom. Now I know what some of you are thinking. There has to be more to the story, right? There has to be a reason. And you're right, there's a reason. Holly claimed self-defense. She had concealed carry license. And she told police that Romeca attacked her first, that she feared for her life, and that she had no choice but to shoot. The prosecutors looked at that claim, looked at the evidence, and said there wasn't enough to charge her. Insufficient evidence, they called it. But here's what doesn't sit right with me, and I think it won't sit right with you either. Witnesses at the scene said they saw something completely different. They said they saw Holly confront Romeca. They said they saw an argument that Holly started. And multiple people described the shooting as execution style, close range, deliberate. So how does that become self-defense? How does a woman who starts a fight, who brings a gun to a school, who fires a bullet into another woman's face, get to walk away claiming she was a victim? And that's where this story gets really dark, because it's not just about what happened that morning. It's about what's been happening since. Let me tell you about Romeca's family, because their pain is something you need to understand if we're going to make sense of this. Her mother, a woman named McMiller, is now raising Romeca's son. Imagine that for a second. You lose your daughter in the most horrific way possible, and suddenly you're responsible for a traumatized 7-year-old who keeps asking when mommy is coming home. McMiller has been all over the news.
My baby was dropping her baby out of school. It would hurt the most.
At press conferences, at vigils, demanding justice. And every time she speaks, you can hear the exhaustion in her voice. She's not just grieving. She's fighting a system that seems designed to protect the person who killed her daughter. She said something in one of those press conferences that stuck with me. She said, "Romeca was my baby. She was kind, sweet, loving, and an amazing mother. She loved her son more than anything in this world. And someone took her from us." Then she looked directly into the camera and said, "Someone has to pay for this." But here's the thing. No one is paying for it. Not yet anyway. Romeca's sister has been just as vocal, but in a different way. She's been on social media, posting videos, sharing memories, and pleading with people to stop spreading the graphic footage of Romeca's death. Yeah, you heard that right. There's video of Romeca lying on the ground, motionless, and it's been shared thousands of times across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. People are watching her final moments like it's entertainment. Her sister had to go online and beg strangers to have some decency, to stop re-traumatizing the family every time that video gets reposted. Can you imagine having to do that? Having to ask people to stop exploiting your sister's death for views? And then there's Romeca's son. He's 7 now. He had his birthday recently. His first birthday without his mom. His grandmother tried to make it special, but how do you celebrate when the person who made every day special is gone? He still has that note she wrote him, the one from his lunchbox. You're the coolest, smartest, funniest kid I know. That note was supposed to make him smile during snack time. Now it's all he has left of her voice, her love, her presence. The family held a vigil in West Englewood. Candles, balloons, people from the neighborhood showing up to pay their respects. But it wasn't just about mourning. It was about demanding accountability. Community leaders stood next to McMiller and said this has to stop. They called for tougher enforcement of laws meant to protect people from domestic violence. They called for the state's attorney to take another look at this case. Because of everyone watching, it seems obvious. This wasn't self-defense. This was murder.
We are here to support an amazing baby.
But here's where things get complicated. And this is the part that makes people angry. Illinois has concealed carry laws, and those laws include something called a self-defense clause. Basically, if you're in a situation where you genuinely believe your life is in danger, you're allowed to use deadly force to protect yourself. And on paper, that makes sense. People should be able to defend themselves. But the problem is that law can be twisted. It can be used by someone who starts the fight, who brings a weapon, who escalates the situation, and then claims they were scared. Holly Johnson used that law to her advantage. She told investigators she was carrying legally, that Romeca came at her aggressively, and that she had no choice but to shoot. And because there's some gray area in the witness statements, because not everyone saw the exact same thing, prosecutors decided they didn't have enough to prove it wasn't self-defense. So they let her go. Now think about that for a second. You're in a heated argument. Things get physical. You pull out a gun and shoot someone in the face. And then you get to say, I was scared, and walk away. Does that sound right to you? Because it doesn't sound right to Romeca's family. It doesn't sound right to the people who were there that morning. And it definitely doesn't sound right to the thousands of people online who've been following this case. Social media exploded after Holly was released. People were furious. Hashtags like Justice for Romeca started trending. Petitions were created demanding that charges be filed. One petition on Change.org describes Romeca as a victim of domestic violence and mental abuse whose life was brutally cut short. It calls for accountability, for someone to stand up and say this isn't okay. Thousands of people have signed it, but so far, nothing has changed. And then there's the other side of social media, the darker side. Because while some people are fighting for justice, others are spreading rumors, sharing theories, and yes, still posting that video of Romeca's death. The family has had to watch as strangers dissect every detail of their loved one's final moments. They've had to read comments from people who barely know the facts, arguing about who was right and who was wrong. It's been a nightmare on top of a nightmare. But here's what really gets me. There's a whole debate happening online about whether Holly had the right to defend herself. Some people are actually defending her, saying that if Romeca came at her first, Holly had every right to protect herself. And I get it. I understand that self-defense is a real thing. But when you look at the facts, when you hear what witnesses said, when you see that this all started because of ongoing drama between Romeca, her ex-boyfriend, and Holly, it starts to look less like self-defense and more like something much uglier.
Justice for Meeks! Justice for Meeks!
Let's talk about what led up to that morning, because understanding the history here is important. Romeca had an ex-boyfriend. That ex-boyfriend was involved with Holly Johnson. And from what we know, there was tension between these three people for a while. Jealousy, resentment, unresolved issues. The kind of toxic dynamic that simmers under the surface until something makes it boil over. Romeca wasn't naive about the situation. People close to her said she'd been worried. She knew there was bad blood. She'd even mentioned feeling uneasy about certain interactions. But what was she supposed to do? Stop living her life? Stop taking her son to school? You can't just hide because someone has a problem with you. You have to keep moving forward and hope that people act like adults Except in this case, someone didn't act like an adult. Someone brought a gun to a school and made a choice that can't be undone. The morning of September 8th wasn't random. Holly didn't just happen to be there. This was intentional. She knew where Romeca would be. She knew when. And whether or not she planned to pull that trigger, she showed up ready for confrontation. Witnesses said the argument started fast. Words were exchanged. Holly got aggressive. Romeca tried to defend herself. And then, in a matter of seconds, everything escalated to the point of no return. One shot. That's all it took. One bullet to the face. And Romeca was gone. Her car door still open. Her son's lunchbox still inside. The note still tucked in with a sandwich. And Holly? Holly walked away, got arrested, told her story, and went home. Now here's the twist that I think a lot of people don't fully understand. The police didn't just let her go because they felt like it. They let her go because the legal system is set up in a way that makes it really hard to prosecute self-defense cases. If someone says they were scared, if they have a legal weapon, if there's any ambiguity in what happened, prosecutors have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it wasn't self-defense. And that's a high bar. It's a bar that protects people who genuinely had no choice. But it's also a bar that sometimes protects people who absolutely did have a choice and made the wrong one. So as of right now, October 2025, Holly Johnson is still free. The case is still technically under investigation. Chicago Police Area 3 detectives say they're looking into it. The state's attorney's office says they're reviewing evidence. But nothing has happened. No charges. No trial. No justice. Just a family in pain and a community wondering how this is possible. And every day that goes by without action, the anger grows, the frustration builds, and people start asking bigger questions. Questions like, does the justice system actually work? Or does it only work for certain people?
I just want to say this morning that I have not even had time to grieve all the negative comments that's going on about my daughter. It's hard, guys. It's real hard. I wouldn't wish this on nobody.
Let me tell you what's happening right now, because this story is still unfolding. Romeca's mother is still fighting. She's still showing up to press conferences, still talking to reporters, still demanding that someone listen. She's raising her grandson, trying to explain to him why his mommy isn't coming back, trying to give him some sense of normalcy in a world that's been completely shattered. And she's doing all of this while carrying her own grief, her own anger, her own disbelief that the person who killed her daughter is walking free. Community leaders have joined the fight. They're calling for reform, for better protections for victims of domestic violence, for a closer look at how self-defense laws are being applied. They're saying that something is fundamentally broken when a woman can be killed in broad daylight and the shooter faces no consequences. And they're not wrong. This case has become a symbol of everything that's wrong with how we handle violence, especially violence that happens in the context of messy relationships and personal disputes. Social media is still a battlefield. People are still arguing about what really happened. Some are still defending Holly, saying we don't know the full story, saying that maybe Romeca really did attack her. Others are calling for Holly to be arrested immediately, saying that the evidence is clear and that this is just another example of the system failing victims. The divide is real and it's ugly, and it's keeping this case in the public eye in a way that's both helpful and exhausting for the family. But here's what I keep coming back to. Whether or not Holly felt threatened, whether or not Romeca to the first punch, none of that changes the fact that a mother is dead. A little boy is growing up without the person who loved him most in this world. A family is shattered, and the person responsible is free. That's the reality. That's what we're left with. And you know what's even scarier? This could happen to anyone. Think about that. You could be in an argument. Someone could pull a gun. They could shoot you, and then they could claim self-defense and walk away. That's the world we're living in. That's the legal reality. And if we don't start asking hard questions about how these laws are being used, how cases like this are being handled, then we're going to see more stories like Romeca's, more families destroyed, more killers walking free. So where does this leave us? It leaves us with a case that's still open but feels closed, a family that's still grieving but being told to wait, a community that's still angry but running out of ways to make their voices heard. And it leaves us with questions. Big, uncomfortable questions about justice, about fairness, about what we're willing to accept as society. Here's what I want you to think about. What does justice even mean in a case like this? Is it about punishing someone? Is it about making sure the law is applied fairly? Or is it about giving a grieving family some sense of closure, some acknowledgement that their loved one mattered? Because right now, Romeca's family is none of that. They have a system that told them their daughter's life wasn't worth pursuing charges over. They have a legal loophole that allowed a killer to walk free. And they have a future that looks nothing like the one they imagined. I also want you to think about the psychology behind what happened that morning. Why do people escalate conflicts to the point of violence? Why do jealousy and resentment turn into rage? And why do we as a society keep creating situations where guns are the answer to personal disputes? Holly Johnson didn't have to bring a weapon to that school. She didn't have to confront Romeca. She could have walked away, could have let it go, could have chosen literally any other option. But she didn't, and now a woman is dead. And what about the witnesses? The people who saw what happened? How do you think they feel knowing that their testimony didn't matter enough to bring charges? How do you think they sleep at night, knowing that the person they saw commit murder is still out there? There's a psychological toll on everyone involved in cases like this, not just a family. The community carries it. The people who were there that morning carry it, and they're left wondering if speaking up even matters. Here's another question. How much does someone's past matter when we're deciding whether they deserve justice? Some people online have tried to dig into Romeca's history, looking for reasons to justify what happened to her. And that's disgusting. It doesn't matter what kind of life someone lived. It doesn't matter if they made mistakes or had complicated relationships. No one deserves to be shot in the face at a school drop-off. No one deserves to have their death dismissed as justified. And the fact that we even have to say that out loud shows how broken our thinking has become. So what happens next? Honestly, I don't know. The case is still under investigation, but it's been over a month and nothing has changed. Holly Johnson is still free. Romeca's son is still growing up without his mother. And the rest of us are left to wonder if this is just how things are now, if this is the new normal. If we reach a point where someone can kill another person and face no consequences, as long as they say the magic words, I was scared. But here's what I do know. We can't let this story fade away. We can't let Romeca become just another name, just another headline that we scroll past. Because if we let this go, then we're saying it's okay. We're saying this is acceptable. And I don't believe that. I don't think you believe that either. So what do? We keep talking about it. We keep asking questions. We keep demanding accountability. We don't let the system ignore us. We don't let Holly Johnson disappear into the background while Romeca's family suffers in silence. We make noise. We make it impossible to look away. If this story made you angry, if it made you sad, if it made you question how justice works in this country, then share it. Talk about it. Don't let it be forgotten. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Mystora Crimes, and make sure you're staying informed about cases like this. Because the truth matters, justice matters, and Romeca Meeks mattered.